Hello, what's going on YouTube? This is J Money here, and I'm bringing you a rather interesting topic for today, and it really is gonna, get us thinking a little bit. And the topic for the day is, is it really now starting to be favored in this game to go second? Is going second now the go-to for, this format and maybe even future formats to come? Because we're in a format to where if you're not going first, you need to have all the answers. You need to have all the hand traps. You need to have all these cards for going second already in your main deck, otherwise you're going to lose. But what we're seeing is more and more people are building their decks for going second and making their opponents go first. So either A, they smack into all the hand traps so they're all live turn one, or two, they're just, it's a deck either built for going second or whatnot, and essentially, you're playing like board wipes, you're playing kaijus, you're playing things to break the board, and you're going to have a little bit better time because you're starting your turn off with an additional card. Now, this can also cause some other meta calls, such as people just playing Dark Law deck, i.e. heroes with a bunch of back row, because we're heading into a state to where everybody's making their opponent go first, so that might influence somebody to, let's say, build a helmet deck. And, for that to counteract the strategy of people just allowing them to go first, since a hero deck doesn't really get too disrupted by hand traps, a deck, and especially since it kills spirals, you might see some things like that happening. But let's go ahead and talk about something here. The same weekend of YCS Dallas, everybody was paying attention to. That was the headline news, is YCS Dallas, YCS Dallas. But what people have not really taken into consideration is that same day, the same weekend, there was a regional in New York, and the first place regional guy got first place with World Chalice, which, for one, in Spiral format, I give him props. I'm just like, yes, thank you. This deck actually does more than what people claim it to be. But this dude built his for going second. This isn't the exact build. This is just a build I would be playing with if I was this guy. This is just based off the cards I have. But, this guy was playing 3 Ash and 3 Droll and 1 Max C, and he was playing 3 Struggling Battle, or evenly matched. He wasn't playing Christia though, so he wasn't necessarily locking his opponent out, and he wasn't playing Nat Beast. So my build is different, but this is something I would build. But he also had 2 Typhoons in his main deck. That's something I should probably put in there. Let's go ahead and get to it. But he was really smart in that regard as well, because if they do have the set rotation and he has evenly matched in his hand, he could Typhoon the field spell, so he could still play the evenly matched from his hand when it comes down to it, which is really, really smart. And he chose Typhoon over Cyclone because, again, he already anticipated the Trick Stars. It was a good meta call because he already anticipated Trick Stars getting a little bit more popular with the release of Destrudo. So in doing that, he actually even said if he actually had Cyclone a few times, he actually would have lost. Because he would have just burned himself. But yeah, it's real good on his part, and then I'm really liking it. And so with me, I would side the Netbeast for going first and all that. I would side the Doriados for going first, in case somebody wants to make me go first. But nobody really makes a deck like World Chalice go first, because if they make the board, it's not getting broken. And it's not as weak to hand traps as the Spirals, because you're searching twice max, and with all the special summons, if you still have the Exodius in your hand, you're still decking your opponent out. So it's just a no-no. But that's not the only deck. Even though that deck got first place, which means that gives hope to us World Chalice players, which is good. Gives us hope. And by the way, I'll give a link to that guy in his profile, and him getting first place. That video will be in the link in the description below. But not only that, but I've also been playing around with just ABCs going second. Once again, look at this. Half this deck, from the gadgets up, I bumped them up to 3 because I wanted to make Akashic more possible, more live. It was a little bit tougher when you had 2 gadgets because you hardly saw them. But if I had 2-2, this would I would only take up half the deck. And now look at this. The other half, I got, 6 hand traps. I have, the Ravine and the Destruda. That's, just in case I'm going first, but I also played it going second. Still made the double buster combo and all that. I'm going to tell you a story. This literally happened today. So, my opponent, I was playing on here actually, and I decided to test this out. I made my opponent go first. I drew a Kaiju and all this other stuff, I drew some average stuff. I drew a piece. I drew... Oh, what? But, let's see. I ended up drawing into all, some pretty decent stuff. I didn't draw any hand traps, though, but I did draw Skill Drain. I drew Desires. I drew oh, what did I draw? I don't know what I drew, but all I know is I made him go first, and he made 3 firewalls, and then Tri-Gate Wizard in the middle, and I literally just draw, and I just Kaiju'd over the Tri-Gate, and that turned everything else off, which, it really picked this board apart, because I went in, and I got to the hangar, and I summoned the Destrudo from hand. I put the Ancient Fairy on the board, I searched my pseudo space, I did my double buster combo, and banished 2 of his firewalls, and then I went and essentially just beat him because he didn't really have anything else. I mean, he was really good though. He went first with Malicious and Level Eater and did all this level eating and did all this stuff, but Kaiju's, man, and Akashic Magician just really broken. Just a Kaiju over other things, make double buster, break more stuff, but it almost just further reinforces, even though I didn't draw any hand traps against them, the fact that I drew Kaijus and I could have drawn the Slumber is just more than enough reason to, it just seems like going second's even better, because when you draw for turn, you have even more chances to break boards. And not only that, but if you also go second, hand traps can cripple them, and they can't make as strong of a board as they want to make, unless they just drew Godly. And then then you can side for going first as well. You can side Artifact Engines and all that stuff if you want to go first game 3, or if you want to go second again and you want to play against Spirals and you want to Dark Law them, and you just drop Retaliating Sea on the big red and they just lose, but you can do that. And so, there's just so many things that you can do to just play with your opponent in terms of going second and going first, and all this good jazz, to where it's just, going second is just so favorable now. And now the other deck I want to show is, let's say, Pendulum Magicians, because Pendulum Magicians seem to be lagging behind. They lag behind because they're a deck that wants to go first, and people often go first, but what you should be doing is building the deck to go second. And I did make a slight build. I have a few changes, but let's say my opponent does play Spiral. He plays Spiral, and he puts up everything in attack mode. He puts Sleeper, he puts Tri-Gate, he puts Firewall, he does all that good stuff. And then I just start by just popping a Gendo on the board, even if I don't draw Golem. Which I chose Golem over Sphere mode because you might not always play against Spirals, and more times than not, if it's Pendulums, you're going to be staring down a Time Star and a monster. If it's ABC, you're going to be staring down a Decode and an ABC, so a lot of times you're going to stare down 2 monsters over rather than multiple, so that's why I chose Lava Golem. And Lava Golem does eat your normal summon, even though it's considered a special, you just can't normal, but you can still special, which is good. All you need to do is just sack over Tri-Gate and sack over Sleeper once Tri-Gate comes out. If you want to go second in Pendulums, you can do it. If you don't do that, you can draw in a Gendo, drop the Gendo, and you literally turn the entire board off and force them to have to either play Utility Wire or If they don't have it, they just scoop. And or, yeah, that's just, it's really good. But yeah, option for going second there as well. Gendo is a fantastic card for big ass boards, because everything will be in attack mode. And I'm pretty sure you guys have read the effect already. You know, for going second, also against spirals, you know, the biggest weakness is their sleeper, which is their biggest strength. But, you know, you have to deal with the last resort. To deal with the last resort, you have to deal with the field spell resort. And also, you're not going to always go against that. Sometimes you'll go against the pendulum players and so on and so forth. So spell shattering arrow is actually not bad anymore. You can actually play it comfortably, siding it if you know you're playing against spiral, because you're going to have all those face-up cards on the board to where you can now wipe their last resort and wipe their resort. So now you can proceed with deal with sleeper how you see fit, and you can side this in other decks as well, but I choose it in this deck because I can also use it going first if I'm playing against pendulums or with pendulums, and I can trigger my stuff. And you know, arrow is just better in a pendulum deck. You know, I also play 2 copies of Pendulum Storm because, again, I'm not going to always play against spirals. Sometimes I'll play against pendulums, and sometimes I do not want to deal with a time graph set with multiple scales. So Pendulum Storm, you just wipe your opponent's scales and then wipe the time graph and you're good. But sometimes that time star will stop that from happening, so keep that in mind. But you're probably also going to be playing Lava Golem, so it's whatevs. But, you know, for going first, Solemn Brigade, I was thinking about Arianes, but that would have to dedicate more space for those and another counter trap, which would be like Recall. Then I'll have to play Lesser Pendulum to get more pluses, but that's... And then you got Side Blocker for going first. So if you build your deck for going second, just know that sometimes your opponent will see, you know, what it is you're doing, and they will pick up on the fact that your deck is built for going second, and sometimes they will make you go first. Some people have done that to me. And so you do need to have an option for going first as well. Otherwise, you know, drawing into these are pretty dead. So keep that in mind, guys. So with this being said, you know, even in a deck that's jam-packed as pendulums, can have space for some cards that can just ruin your opponent's day in the right circumstance. And so that's the question of the day. Should we be building our decks for going second? You know, obviously we should have options for going second, but should we just build our decks specifically for going second? So if our opponent wins the die roll and they go first, and we're just like, thank you. You know, secretly, you know, do we build decks to where if we win the die roll, do we make our opponent go first? You know, so these hand traps aren't dead. That is what we're heading into, you know, because we figured it out. If you're playing against spirals, if you're a spiral player, if multiple, not one, but multiple hand traps get played on you, you're not going to have a very strong board, and you're not going to have a very good time. And that leaves a player going second at a much more advantageous position than you, unless you, the previous turn player, had multiple hand traps as well. Then it's a pretty good trade-off. So, have you guys noticed more going seconds? Because remember, we got the hand trap deck featuring the invoked engine. You had going second spirals, which was at YCS Dallas, and now you got, you know, this World Chalice deck in the same weekend, you know, that got first place. You know, keep in mind, he didn't top, he got first place with World Chalice. So this is also a deck that I've put a lot of pride, time, and energy and effort into, and I've never accomplished what this guy managed to accomplish. So I give him, you know, props, double thumbs up. Again, the video of this guy will be in the link in the description below. So with that being said, my personal opinion, it is probably best to engineer decks in general for going second. If your deck cannot do it, if it cannot manage the main deck space, if it has to go first or bust, then it's probably not the best deck to be playing right now competitively. But if you like the deck, then by all means. But in my personal opinion, I think this whole metagame and how things are done, you know, it has always been this whole win the die roll, go first, break my board, or pass. But now it's just like it's shifted to where it's just like I want to fight to go second because I want to crack and cripple you before I make my move, so I can secure victory for me. That's where it's shifted to, and I think we're gonna see more of that. We're gonna see more people maining kaiju engines. You probably should have been doing that anyway, but still, you're gonna see more people maining evenly matched and multiple back row removal for, you know, things like set rotation. I really feel we're gonna start seeing more of this because it's so effective. It's so effective until Tri-Gate comes out. When Tri-Gate comes out, kaiju engines in the main is a must. When Tri-Gate comes out, you know, it'll now be, okay, did you open a kaiju? No? Then I probably won. So, let me know what you guys think about everything I just said so far. What is your take on what's happening? You know, I'm not talking about just spirals, but I'm talking about how the game is being played right now. It's shifting, and it's very, very noticeable. You know, you would think in a quote-unquote break my board format, that going first is just the be-all end-all, but no, we're seeing that going second for some reason we're seeing more and more of it. More people are going second and more people are winning, and it's working. Because when you cripple your opponent's board, they're not going to have as many cards in their hand, let alone the resources they wanted to fight back. And so when they put up their boss monster, like their Merkaba or whatever, it's so much harder to deal with versus them having a 6-card hand. And so, let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching. This is J Money, and I'm signing out.